Hey, this is Devin for CrunchGear.com, and this is a belated review of the Razer Mamba, which is the brand new top-tier Razer mouse. Now I say belated because although I've had the mouse since launch, I had some serious issues with it, and I saw right when I was publishing my review the first time around, or when I was writing it, I saw that they were being addressed in a firmware update, and then the firmware update had some other issues of its own. And it's only now that I've actually been able to spend some time with the fully updated mouse, and most of the issues have been resolved, so we can talk about those, but for some reason I felt that I should explain why I said belated. I could have just not said belated in the first place. So, here's the mouse. It's a beautiful little thing. It actually looks a lot like the old Death Adder here. They've got the same, there we go, same general shape. Same sensor placements, same scroll thing. You can see there's a couple extra buttons right here, and you can't really tell, but the cut of the Mamba is a little deeper here for the thumb. The shape is familiar though, and since it's the shape of my favorite mouse of the past, good times, right? But obviously you'll notice that there's no cord coming out of here, so it's wireless. But it also is wired if you want it to be, so it's this sort of convertible wireless wired solution. Now, there are some who would question, if it can be wireless all the time, why have it be wired at all? And I guess it's so that if you're running out of battery, you don't have to get the little thing and then set it on there and then wait for 5 hours for it to charge, or a half hour, or whatever. So what you can actually do is, I mentioned this over at CES when this thing first got unveiled, but you can actually just pull a thing out of the charger and put it into the mouse, and now it's a wired mouse. So it's being charged right now, and it's also sending the signal through here, so it's no longer a wireless mouse, it's a wired mouse. But there's actually, I didn't find any performance difference between the two modes. And I should mention, because it was a major issue for Razer to get this done, that whether you're wired or wireless, you have the option of setting it to 1,000 updates a second, which is a lot. I mean, that's about as fast as you could possibly want something to update. Every millisecond it's polling the sensor to find where the mouse is, that kind of thing. So it's got a good battery. I haven't had trouble with battery running out or anything like that. So I haven't been unplugging it and plugging it in too much. I've been trying to mix it up by using the little thing, which is just a paperweight when you're not using it, and doing it wired and wireless just to see if there's any performance differences. But the thing is, actually, I haven't had to do this too much, as I was saying, but actually taking the thing out is kind of a pain. Like if you're in the middle of a program or something and you're running out of battery, I don't know, you want to go wireless and you're in Photoshop or something, when you're doing this, you have to hit this little eject button here. You just clicked. You're always going to click something and you feel, oh, what the hell? It's kind of a pain in the ass. So I've just clicked like 20 times. I don't know what's going to happen over here on this screen. So you've got this thing. It feels pretty bad pulling it out, although I've never had any trouble with it. And then getting it in here is super easy, but then getting it back in here is kind of a pain in the ass. It never feels like it's lining up correctly. It always kind of goes in at a weird angle, and then finally you can, there we go. It also feels like it does something weird at the last second, and this little eject button only kind of works. So that really could be improved, considering that the Microsoft Sidewinder X8, I think, the big chunky one that was wireless, it had the best wireless solution of all time. You know, if you wanted to go from wired to wireless, or rather, if you wanted to pick up the charge cable, god damn it, if you wanted to pick up the charge cable, it would just be sitting there and just go boing, and it would pick it up, which is way easier than this, which is pretty, it's not a very convenient solution. But it works, and I like the performance of this mouse better. So aside from the kind of clumsy plug-in and unplug controls, which you can get used to because you don't have to do it too much, the thing that bothered me about the Mamba when I got it was this. It just had drift when you would click it, which happens a lot when you are using a mouse. I would click the mouse and the cursor would move just a tiny bit. So click, 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 click. It would move in a random direction just a little bit. You could make it kind of dance if you would put it down and then click it like that and be very careful not to move the mouse, the cursor would just jump all over the place. And it was really annoying because it means you miss a lot of buttons, you're selecting the wrong part of text and stuff like that. So that's what they fixed in the firmware, luckily. Well, not luckily, I mean they heard about it and they fixed it, which is great. I had some major issues installing the firmware, but apparently I'm the only person in the world who did, because everybody else is doing just fine. But still, there was a serious issue where I actually bricked 2 mice. But now, there's no problem at all. I mean, every once in a while it'll jump a little bit, but it's really, it's totally eliminated that problem for me. The other issue was that when I was moving the mouse and then it would stop, then it would feel like it would jump back just a little bit. So you'd be going here, boop, and it would kind of bounce back. Not the mouse itself, but the cursor. And I have been seeing less of that as well, too. So I think they must have tweaked the way that tiny, tiny movements are detected, because they were totally off kilter when I got this. But they are fixed now. And the motion is just as good as the Death Adder. I've had to get used to the new shape of the mouse, but, you know, that's par for the course. And I haven't had any, I wouldn't say that it's any worse or better than the Death Adder. If anything, it's better. Certainly not worse. But I'm still not quite used to it. I can't get, you know, headshots or whatever at the same rate, or whatever it is you kids are doing these days online. The positives of the mouse are pretty obvious. It's beautiful, it's well crafted, it tracks very well, just like the Death Adder and previous Razer mice. So that stuff I'd consider pretty much a given. And the problems are what are the things that may be deal breakers for you. So far, there aren't any now that the motion problem is fixed, but the last problem is the price. It costs $130. This is probably the most expensive consumer mouse on the market. And it's understandable why it would be the most expensive. It's you know, the fastest wireless mouse you can get. It's certainly extremely well made. The packaging was fancy, so that adds to the cost as well. But you can get it for a little over $100 right now. I think $110 at buy.com. But it's still a lot of money to be spending on a mouse, and when you can get a Death Adder for like $35 or $40 right now, which is more or less the same shape, and if you don't need the wireless, there's absolutely no reason to get this. But, you know, if you want wireless, and I found it very handy to have, I'm tired of dealing with cords personally, and once you have the actual precision of a great Razer mouse in a wireless package, it's kind of hard to go back, because you think, why would I want a wire at this point? So I guess I can give this mouse a pretty hearty recommendation, except for the fact, of course, that it's very expensive. But if you feel like the wireless is something that you need or want, and you may find that it's something that you didn't know you needed or wanted until you had one that was as good as this, then I'd say it's worth the money. It's not overpriced for what it is, but it may be overpriced for what you need. So just consider how much of a precision instrument and how crazy of a wireless mouse you need. And if you only need to spend $40 to get a Death Adder, which, as you can see, they're very similar mice. They're both great mice. But if you feel like, you know, spending the extra $60 for wireless and other stuff, then go for it.